What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today, I am continuing on with the Mel series. Today, we're doing Ransom. This was a movie I watched as a kid. Because, Mel Gibson's in it. I just watched him in, like, the Lethal Weapon movies. But this one, relatively, the plot is simple. Tom's son, Sean, gets kidnapped. And basically the people who kidnapped him, Maris, who was an associate of his, who used to be a caterer, and undercover officer, an officer who's actually revealed to be the mastermind, who actually was the perfect villain for the movie. I, for some reason, remember it being more action-packed. It's not really. It's more of like a cat and mouse kind of thing. And basically, he's led around, so he can find his son. I mean, this is where we get the iconic, let me give me back my son scene. But, I do like, the movie it's one of those movies, it's very straightforward, gets going pretty quick. He and his wife, played by Renee Russo, which I love them together. They had the same chemistry, I thought, from the Lethal Weapon movies. Like, they carry over. Like, they work well together. So they go to a science fair with his son. He ends up getting kidnapped there. I didn't remember Liev Schreiber being in this movie. He plays one of the kidnappers. And Donnie Wahlberg's in this movie. Delroy Lindo plays an FBI agent. That dude's in a lot of fucking movies. Like, he's in The One, he's in Romeo Must Die, he's in Gone in 60 Seconds, he's the cop in that. Like, he may not be, like, a lead actor, but he plays a good character. He's a good actor. I think he plays a good background character. And I love the scene where where Tom goes on news and it's like, instead of paying the ransom, he's like, I'm gonna offer a bounty on this motherfucker, on these motherfuckers who took my son. Like, it's perfect. I love that scene. And don't get me wrong, I love the giving back my son scene too, but I just love that scene. Just the look on Mel's face. Because, and I gotta say it, Mel and Renee, I thought, did a good job at playing parents who, are willing to do anything to get, like, I thought, granted, I'll admit, like, Renee Russo, Kate Mullen, she was more of a background character, and she's just kind of there to be hysterical, but I thought it worked. It's believable. This is what I think a mom would be like if if her son was kidnapped. So I really thought they played it really believably, I thought Gary was a solid villain, of the film. You wanted him to get because he's revealed to be a cop. He actually was a cop. And, he even had, like, the whole thing where he changed his voice and the whole reveal that, no, they were going to always kill the kid. Like, he played a good bad guy. Played a good foil to Mel. And, like, I for some reason remember it being a bit more action-y, but no, it does have action, but it's not, like, a super action-filled movie, But I thought it was a solid flick. The end is really good, where he makes it look like, because his people basically turn on him and try to leave, but he ends up killing him. But it looks like, and the police arrive in time, it looks like he kind of helped save his son, but it turns out he was the one who set him up. And then, later on, they try to confront him. But it's just a solid flick. I definitely recommend it. It's not on the service, unfortunately, but I definitely recommend it. It's solid. It's only 2 hours. Pretty good. It's not a long 2 hours either. Like, it goes. It's a believable movie, and, Mel, I thought, played a really good role in this. Like, as a father, just wants his son back. That's it, So, yeah, if I were to give it out of 10, like a 9 out of 10 is a solid flick, definitely. tomorrow, American Pie 2. Saturday, I'll see, depending on what's going on. I might do a video Saturday. I'll see how I'm feeling. Sunday, I'll be doing, I'll be reviewing Sisu. I'll just say this. I have access to Guardians 3. So I'm going to watch it probably tomorrow, maybe. I'll probably won't review it, though, till, like, next week, if I'm being honest. I'm not in no rush to review it. I probably will review it. I'm in no rush to review it, so. But, yeah. So, Sisu review Sunday. But, yeah, that's my schedule, at least, through the rest of the week. But, yeah, let's get to Ransom. So we meet the Mullins, and like I said, movie gets going pretty quick. Tom Mullen and Kate Mullen are, wealthy couple. He's into like stocks and stuff. He's sorry, Jesus. He's a solid, wealthy man. Does well for himself. Got into a bit of a scandal, but he covered it up. So that's like the really only real reveal. That, he did a scandal that to save his company, under wraps. Then the family go to a science fair, and this is where I was watching, holy shit, I did not remember fucking Liev Schreiber Cotton Weary from Scream, or Sabretooth from X-Men Origins. I didn't remember him being in this movie. He was fine. He's one of the bad guys. He's kind of like an underling for the main bad guy. He wasn't, anything, because I think he's probably just coming up. So it wasn't like he's like the main actor or anything. So this is where his son gets kidnapped. And then he gets an email. And this is where we get we still don't really know who the mastermind is yet. It gets going pretty quick, and this is when the mastermind is revealed to be a cop. It's revealed to be a cop. I thought Gary was a solid villain. I could be getting his name wrong. I think because I was looking at the thing, I might be saying the actor's actual name and not the character name, but I'm just gonna stick with it. I thought he was solid. You wanted him to get his, and he had everything. He was like the one in control, and so Clark Jones and Chubby Jones are brothers. So that's Donnie Wahlberg and Liev Schreiber, and they want $2 million, and they basically still plan on killing the kid regardless, which I do like in the sense of we actually have villains. It's just nice to see villains be villains. You want them to get theirs, but they're villains. No other bullshit. He's just a bad guy. He's just a fucking bad cop who wants some money and is willing to kill a kid for it. That's a villain. Sometimes it's just, I'm not saying you can't have complex villains, but sometimes, we're villains where you can have a somewhat sympathetic backstory, but sometimes it's just nice having a bad guy who's just a bad guy. So they arrange an initial meeting. Initially, Tom goes with it, and he's like, all right, I'll, give him the $2 million. Oh, there's a scene where he visits an old partner of his who he thinks is actually the one who set up the his son getting kidnapped, he reveals that no, he wasn't the one and nearly attacks Tom because he blames Tom for being in prison. So, and I'll be honest, that's the only, if I had to say one criticism, and it's very minor, is that I just feel like there was no point. That was just almost just there to be a red herring. Because they want to make you think, oh, is it that guy? Because, he has beef with Tom in the past. But for me, it's like, there's no point. It didn't matter. For me, you could have cut that out in the movie. Could have still played out the same way. I just felt like there was no need to mention that. Because it's not like we could ever go back to it. So it was just, I didn't need that whole secondary plot where, oh, he thinks it's this guy. Because all it really was is just there just to be like, no, it's not him. It's just a red herring. Which I understand in, like, granted, this is not a full-on mystery movie, but there's a mystery element to it. At least for Tom, because he wants to find out who is the one who took his son to an extent. So it's like, because you don't know, because you know that there's a voice changer, and so I guess they wanted to have, like, you kind of have to have red herrings, but for me, the red herrings still have to make sense. For me, I guess it somewhat makes, and like I said, I shouldn't even spend this long on it. It's a minor thing for me. But, so after that, he initially goes with it. He arranges an initial meeting. This is where we get Donnie Wahlberg's character, Cubby, I think was his name, who actually was like the only one who was actually nice to the kid throughout the film. And I guess I can go into Sean really quick. Sean was an okay character. He's, you could say he's kind of the I can't think of the term right now, but there's a thing they need to get, but it's fine. I thought he's a fine character. He's a kid. And granted, they didn't give him a lot of dialogue. He talks every here and there, but when he's kidnapped, he's taped up. And the only scenes he's talking in is when he's like the bad guy say, hey, talk to your dad. Which I thought those were good scenes. Oh, I guess I'll kind of, because the story's very straightforward, really. There's not a lot to analyze. Like I said, Mel plays a believable father who's trying to do everything to get his son back. Same thing with Rene Russo, who's, granted, you can say is just there for hysterics, but it makes sense. That's how I think a mom would be if she found out her son was kidnapped, It makes sense. So, then, yeah, so they do the meeting. It doesn't go well, and Cubby ends up getting shot. And before Cubby dies, he tells him, I think it was like the location. Yeah, he gives him like basically the last bit of information before he dies. And this is where we get that. I fucking love this scene. This is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. Where Tom just goes on the news. He just has like all this fucking money. It's like $2 billion. And he's like, instead of paying the kidnappers, because I think this was at that point he realized, what he told him was that Cubby told him, sorry, I forgot it for a second. Cubby told him that basically his son, it doesn't matter if you basically pay him, they're going to kill him anyway. Because Cubby ultimately was like the only one nice to the kid. So, after telling him that, this is when he goes on the news and basically is like, at this point, he's like, they're going to kill him anyway. So at least I can send some people. He basically offers the bounty on the people who kidnapped his son. Initially, Marie, I think is her name, who's the actual one who somewhat set this up, because she's a caterer for the Mullins. So that's basically the motive. But we get a couple of scenes, of them doing like the calls, which I fucking love those scenes. It's very cat and mouse, and I love it. Like because you want fucking Tom to get his kid back. And because there's a scene earlier where his wife Kate, sorry, I was like, I don't know why I forgot her name for a second. Kate, tries to do a private meeting. She ends up getting attacked, not brutally beaten up, but pretty much beaten up. And they give her a bloodstained shirt of her son to show that they're serious. And she tries to convince him along with detective or agent. He's an agent. Who I thought he was a solid character. He was, he's just there to help. He's the the agent, or he's not a cop, but he's the government trying to help. And I thought he was fine. Delroy Lindo's a great actor. I thought, he's always fun in movies, even though, he's like always one of those actors who's not a main actor. He's not a main character, but he definitely leaves an impact in the movie. I'm like, God, because especially at this time, like 96 through like that early aughts, he was in like a lot of fucking movies. So after that, this is where we get the infamous scene where "Give me back my son." I fucking love it. And they make it seem like that they killed him because they like shot a gun because he refused to call off Gary wanted him to call off the bounty on him, but Tom refused, so he shot a gun to make it seem like he shot his son. And that scene where Kate freaks out on him, like, that's believable. I can see, like, I thought they really did a good job at playing parents who lost their son, or, their son was kidnapped, So he ends up going on his own, trying to confront them. And while this is going on, Clark and Marie basically, and the other guy who was working for him, I'll be honest, I didn't catch his name, but the bald dude, they all try to run out because they start realizing the plan is kind of going to shit. They end up turning on him. Gary ends up killing both of them, and Marie ends up shooting him, who's his girlfriend, but then he ends up killing her. And at this point, it's when the cops arrive, because he makes it look like they killed each other. The guys killed, Clark and the other guy killed each other. He set it up, and they find the son. So he basically looks like, okay, now I'm remembering his name, the villain's name. I think the villain's actual name was Baker, who I thought he was a solid villain throughout the film. He heavily carried the movie for me. In terms of, like, he wasn't, like, an amazing villain. He's not like Hans Gruber, right? But you wanted him to get his. And the fact that he set it up to look like the hero was perfect. So, Tom then arranges a meeting to basically pay him the money, because he's trying to get, basically, before he tries to get the money before Tom starts realizing it's him. Tom realizes him because of his voice. Baker then threatens to kill his family and basically says, I'm going to kill you and your family. And Tom basically manages to convince him to not kill him, and that he'll take him to the bank and give him the money. And while this is going on, he discreetly tells the cops. And this is where we get a quick shootout. Two scuffle for a bit. Tom ends up killing Baker. And yeah, he walks out with his wife. So it's not a Mel action movie like that, in the sense, like, he's not just going around killing, but it's a fun movie, The way they're able to make it interesting, and even though it's not like an action flick like that, where there's action scenes every fucking 5 minutes, but it works. It's a fun film. I definitely recommend it. It's Mel Gibson at his best. I thought he put on a really good performance. That scene in the news where he calls up for the bounty on Baker was perfect. I love that scene. That's like my favorite scene in the whole movie. Just, besides the give me back my son, But yeah, they played parents who they were believable. I thought everybody was believable. Baker was a fucking great villain. You wanted him to get his in the end. Yeah, it's definitely a fun one. It's one of those movies. There is definitely some Obviously, kids getting kidnapped. It's not a fun plot, but it's definitely still like a good cat and mouse kind of movie. It's one of those, I wouldn't say the best, but it's definitely a solid cat and mouse movie where there's a chase, you know. But yeah, overall, I definitely like the movie. It's one of my favorite Mel Gibson movies. Definitely recommend it. 9 out of 10. It's very simple, not over the top. It's 2 hours, but it's not a long 2 hours. Like, it doesn't feel like it's not 2 hours where it's like it feels longer than 2 hours. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about Ransom. Very solid flick. So um, tomorrow, American Pie 2. In my opinion, my favorite. I actually have always liked American Pie 2 a smidgen better. Granted, I'll see if I still have that opinion, because it's been a bit since I've watched American Pie 2, but I definitely have always loved the second one a smidgen over the first. Just because, like, I don't know, them out of high school, and I thought the jokes, hit a bit better, but we'll see. So I'm going to rewatch that tomorrow, and I'll review it tomorrow. I'm gunning to review it tomorrow. And yeah, so that's basically what I got planned. So cheers, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. As usual. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Kamala. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.